Welcome into the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast here on Sports Illustrated from the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Tom Cavanaugh. You can follow me at TCAV30 on Twitter/X. Follow our insider pages at follow us at UCLA Insider on SI, and then type in UCLA Sports Illustrated on social or the search bar, and you'll be able to find all of our content on a daily basis. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple different sports. Football just finished up their season, got a 20-13 win over Fresno State. The women's basketball team is on quite the hot streak to begin the year, and one former Bruin got in the end zone today in a pivotal game in the NFL. We'll talk about all three right now, starting with the football team. A couple of guys spoke after the game. Ethan Garbers, senior quarterback, senior tight end Maliki Matavao, and junior linebacker Carson Schlesinger. We'll get to Carson's situation in a minute, but for Garbers and Maliki Matavao, this is 110% their last game playing as a Bruin. Great day for Ethan Garbers. He threw for 289 yards and a touchdown with no interceptions. Matavao, he had his career high in receiving yards, $120 on 8 catches. So both of those guys were sensational. They kind of spoke on just a little bit about what it meant to be a part of the Bruins program, what they learned, what they're going to take away. And for Garbers at first, he talked about just kind of the discipline that he learned all the way throughout his 4-year career as a Bruin. He said, this is a quote from Garbers, "I would say, honestly, the number one lesson that I've learned throughout my whole tenure at UCLA is discipline. Being an 18-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, getting into college, you don't have a lot of discipline. You kind of want to procrastinate and you want to do whatever you want to do and kind of not set a schedule. But I think it kind of sets you up for life, because in life, you got to be disciplined as well in everything you do." And that's spot on. Garbers definitely knows that. His new head coach, Deshaun Foster, he's got an acronym, DRE, and that first letter D stands for discipline. And he's definitely exemplified that over the year, considering he didn't have the best start to the season. I mean, he had a rough go of it, starting 1-5, a myriad of turnovers, a lot of interceptions for Ethan. And the second half of his season was like a completely different year, and he looked like an incredible quarterback, which he is, and it turned the season around completely. So a big tip of the cap to Ethan Garbers for what he was saying. Also, Matavao, we talked about his best day. And he talked about just kind of what I spoke about just a moment ago about this season turning around. He talked about the perseverance and the adversity that he learned through having such a struggle of a year at the beginning, starting 1-5, playing a bunch of the top teams in the country, and then being able to rip off 3 straight Big Ten wins, get yourself in contention to maybe be bowl eligible. They did not get to that point, losing to Washington and USC down the stretch, but still being able to beat up on Fresno State, beat them by 7, and finish your year on a high note. That's a big thing. So Matavao, he spoke. He said, "This season's been full of ups and downs, but being able to get knocked down, but get back up and come swinging harder every time, I think that's kind of ingrained in us, ingrained in this culture, and what kind of Coach Foster has set. There's going to be a good future for him in this program." So not only does Matavao talk about what he learned, but he also gives praise to his first-year head coach, Deshaun Foster, for the job that he did in the future that this program holds under him. Now, in terms of Carson Schlesinger, he was on the podium speaking as well. He was a part of the senior ceremonies, which I found interesting. He's listed as a junior, which means he does have another year of eligibility. Schlesinger was acting, it seemed as if he was a senior and this was going to be his last game playing. Now, we didn't cover him all week talking about this game as one of the seniors. We did a senior spotlight talking about some of the linebackers, and he was not featured on that, assuming that he was a junior and would have another year. Now, he did speak after and said that he's going to meet with Coach Foster and come up with a decision. Don't have a lot of speculation on that. We'll just see what happens, but it would be very tough if the junior linebacker and Carson Schlesinger does not play for them next year, considering he's been one of the best linebackers in all of college football this year. But he kind of talked about, piggybacking off of what Garbers had mentioned about discipline, talking about the coaching staff. And he said pretty much there's a discipline, but just how to live life as a man. So everything outside of playing football, these coaches doing a great job. He mentioned Coach Foster, Coach Akaika Malloy, the defensive coordinator, And he was quoted saying, just seeing how they're able to carry themselves through life, that's something that is going to be very helpful moving forward. And that's true. The best college coaches don't teach you to just win national championships and conference titles. They teach you how to be men after you leave the program, and learning all of these key things when it comes to adversity, discipline, being able to be respectful, take losses, appreciate wins, don't be a sore winner, loser, all that type of stuff, because that's just cannot be, only kept to football, and pretty much everything in life that you do, those same sort of things apply. So Schlesinger, some real good, deep, key insight there talking about his coaching staff. So we'll, throughout the week, we'll be giving some grades, talking about this Bruins team and how they finished up this year, highlighting some players that will be back next year, a few that are leaving, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll move on to women's basketball right now. Or sorry, no, we'll stay with football. It's going to be an alumni of the Bruins who played 4 years for UCLA. It's Zach Charbonnet. He has not been the number one main back for the Seattle Seahawks this year. That has been Kenneth Walker III. But Charbonnet got in the end zone, a big touchdown for Zach. And that was kind of a turning point in the game for the Seattle Seahawks, who were in not a must-win spot, but kind of were, taking on the Jets at home. They were 6-5 in the overall. They were tied for number one in the division, and they got a win. Charbonnet gets in the end zone to help out and play a big role in that win. And now Seattle, with Charbonnet on the squad, is in first place in the NFC West division, and they're going to try to make a push to win that and make the playoffs. So give some credit to Charbonnet. He spent 2019 to 2022 with UCLA this season. He rushed for 28 yards and a touchdown today, caught a couple passes as well. And he's been a nice piece for that Seahawks team. It's been a nice 1-2 punch between Walker III and Charbonnet in that backfield. So just a little nugget on Zach, checking up on some of the alumni from UCLA. And then finally, we're going to talk about the women's basketball team, who is off to a 7-0 start on the season, ranked number one in the national poll. They've taken down number 17 Louisville. They've taken down former number one team South Carolina, and a bunch of other wins in between to some mid-majors. Also Arkansas, who was unranked. But when you look at this team, they're dismantling opponents. They won their first game of the year by, I think, 7 points against Louisville. And ever since then, they've won by 15 or more. They took down the Gamecocks by 15 in upset fashion. After that, becoming the number one team after taking them down, they played two mid-major schools and won by a combined 116 points. They scored 97 buckets in both games. And, they played UT Martin and Fresno State, and they took it to them and body bagged them, sent them back. So this is a legitimate national title contender for women's college basketball. You got Lauren Betts, who's having a National Player of the Year type season early on. She's led the team in scoring 4 out of the team's 7 games. She's got a team-high 19.3 points, 12 rebounds, just over 2 blocks, and she's just been a force to be reckoned with on the court all year long. And another big surprise, just kind of talking about the opposite ends of the spectrum, because Betts is a transfer from Stanford in her second year with the Bruins as a junior. And then you have true freshman Alina Arnasalo. She leads the team in assists with 6.6 per game, averaging just over 10 points a game, already has posted 3 games with double-digit point totals. You don't see that too often from a true freshman. And it's very, very impressive from Alina to be able to go out there for UCLA, the number one team in the country right now, and putting up numbers like that. So a huge, credit given to head coach Corey Close in her 14th season with the program. This might be the deepest and most experienced team that she has ever had. And this women's squad is really going to make a push and is putting the entire country on notice currently with a bunch of these double-digit wins that they're going to be coming for the title this year, looking to compete against the best, the Iowa States, the USCs, and the South Carolinas of the world, who they already took down this year. This has been the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. Glad you could join us today. We're going to be back tomorrow on a Monday to continue to talk about football and basketball as one season closes and another one begins to tip off for Big Ten play. Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you next time here on the UCLA Bruins Pod.